Just for the case of conversation,
Yes.
just to introduce some baseball to the mix, and there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Never.
In terms, I go to the Fangraphs site. It's like the clearinghouse for free agent contracts. You can go to that and play with it yourself because it's very easy to get the information because you can enter in the search fields that pops up. Like you can choose the signing status. Like you can just click on unsigned. So if you want to see who the relievers are still out there on free agency, so you click on unsigned. You can, if you want, you can select the signing team, but you don't have to. Then you got to select the position. So that would be relief pitcher as an RP. So I'm looking at it now. Unsigned relief pitchers. In terms of projected wins above replacement, because that gives you at least a general idea of who the best guys are because you're projecting into 2024. Ryan Brazier, who did have 1.1 wins above replacement last year for the Dodgers, but I'm not even going to give you a projected WAR. He's at the top of the list. It's not an overwhelming number, but it's a good number. Mm-hmm. Second on the list for the projected WAR is Hector Neris, Houston. I'm sure a lot of teams are after him. I was looking at some stuff in his portfolio that I like him. I'd like to see him in Cardinals uniform, but I'm going to be fair about this and honest, transparent. If you're talking about some 3-year deal or whatever, I might have to take a pass on that. But it's not my money, so whatever they want to do is fine with me. A guy that I actually think is underrated on this market, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that because his surface numbers weren't very good last year. But I saw him pitch a lot after the Oakland A's traded him to the Orioles. Shintaro Fujinami, 29-year-old right-hander. And the thing about him is he's had a hard time in terms of, walks. And I know that's always a red flag. And you'd like to say, well, maybe they can, some team like the Cardinals can help him with that. But if you kind of look in his, his background, there's some real strikeout stuff there. It always hasn't, kind of reached the level that you'd like to see it reach. But he's got really good swing and miss stuff, and he's kind of a guy where it's just a matter of time where he puts everything together. He's averaged his whole career in the majors. It's not a lengthy career, but he's averaged, he's averaged over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's been close to 10. But that's only part of it. I didn't want to do a deep dive into him as like in terms of like telling you all the stuff. But there's some promising stuff there. So he's a guy, if you could get cheap, to me he's worth taking a chance on. And of course, they're looking for cheap. Yeah. Jesse Chavez, no thanks. He's 40 years old. Ryan Stanek, he's now from Houston. I think he's good. A guy that I identified at the beginning of this process, and unless there's an injury that I'm unaware of, there was an injury late last season, but he came back before the end of the season, which tells you he was doing fine. If there was a setback or not, I don't know. Well, his name, which I think I probably should give to you, right? I think that would help. Keenan Middleton, who was pitching for the Yankees. If you look at him, last year, 2 teams, he had a 30% strikeout rate. Walks were too high, and that's the concern over him. So the Cardinals, I can't say I would blame them for being a little, reluctant to take in a guy that's has a problem, issuing walks, too many of them. But that's the point. The better guys are gone. And so you're in that area where, you're kind of fishing for something. So I don't know who else they would have in mind. I'm just giving you some ideas, some of the people out there. I'll maybe over the weekend, I'll get a few minutes and I'll do a deeper dive on some of these guys. Down on the list, his projected WAR is about league average, but he grew up near Springfield and I guess, lived for a time, you know, in the general vicinity of, you know, the eastern part or the western part of Illinois, you know, across the river, but not directly across the river. But for some reason, this has been one of those. You got to love the media tropes. The hyperventilating over him because he grew up like 3 hours from here. Phil Matten.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I just, okay. So he grew up 3 hours from here. So what? It's his dream to play for the Cardinals? I mean, I haven't seen him say that. He didn't grow up 30 minutes from here, right? He doesn't live here the way, say, Kyle Gibson does. So, all right, he has averaged over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. I'm not saying he actually, I think he would be, even though the projection leaves me a little cold. It's not a bad projection, but it's not a good projection. But if you look at it, I mean, he's actually a really good reliever, and I think he could do that. He could handle that. I think he's a good reliever. He could handle the Chris Stratton role, where, you know, you bring him in a little earlier, not the high leverage guys, but you keep him there. Say you're say you're down by a run, say it's a tie game. You want someone to keep it right there. You want to save some of the higher leverage guys for, well, higher leverage. And, you know, Matten seems to have those qualities, and he doesn't have a terrible walk problem. He keeps the ball in the yard. And, you know, last year his ERA was 3. And there's a slight rise in the projection, but you know, he's good. I would be happy with him. But, you know, we don't. My point, the thing, I let little things irritate me. I admit it. I should be above that. I admit it, right? I just, every time, you know, you want to talk about relievers who are still out there, right? But just, I don't need to hear, you know, I don't need to hear for the 1 millionth time that he grew up somewhere in the general area of St. Louis. You know, well, you know, he grew up. You could take a car ride there. You know, don't take it too long to get to Springfield. So as far as I'm concerned, he's in the neighborhood. You know, we don't need that every time his name's mentioned. I just tell us if he's good. Tell us what he does best. Tell us what the red flags are, if any, and tell us what, if you have any info, and it's tough to get, why he's still unsigned, right? I don't need to hear about, well, you know, Bernie, he did grow up within a couple hours of St. Louis. He's from nearby. See, what? You know what? They probably sign a lot of guys who are nearby. That don't mean they're any good.
It's true. I'm
like, why do we do this stuff?
Granddad was a Cardinal fan.
Who's that?
Granddad was a Cardinal fan. Okay.
You know, why can't we break these bad habits that we lapse into? I don't know. I saw that again this week, and it was not Derek Gould or John Denton. Just so we know. Because I think those guys think sometime I'm making fun of them. I'm not. So I don't know. So who else is out there? Was there a guy that grew up in you know, just across the border in Tennessee or something? I don't know.
That was Cardinal country.
Nick Whitgren's still out there.
Oh, my.
Huh?
Oh, boy.
There you go. Right? Hey, you need a lefty? Jason Shreve, baby.
Oh, amazing. Texters asked this question. This is a serious question. It says,
all right,
if Helsley is not available or gets hurt, are there enough strikeouts in that bullpen for this bullpen to be successful?
That's a really good question. Now, this would require me to do a little homework, so you have to forgive me. I don't have time to do it right now, but it's a great question. All right, one shorter type answer is this: there would have been a time, you know, where I'd say, well, don't forget, you know, I don't think Gallegos is a closer. I don't think he's that ninth inning guy. I don't think he's at his best, like high leverage, but he's a really good setup guy. And hey, don't forget, you know, during his career when he's best with the Cardinals, he's, you know, struck out 32% of the hitters he's faced, which is excellent. Except last year, the strikeout punch lost some steam, man. It lost some wallop. He lost about, he went down to about 25%, and 25%'s okay. It's fine, but it's not 32, 33%. And then when it happens all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, you know. Now, the easy explanation, I've been pummeled with this one. Well, you know, Bernie, he had a hard time adjusting to the pitch clock. Can I be that guy again?
Sure.
How long should we, as fair-minded observers, how much time should we give any pitcher who might, at the beginning of the season or whatever, you know, because he has a history, and Gallegos, did have a history of working slowly, and he had to speed it up. I agree. But at some point, you know, do you just say, you know, this is kind of ridiculous. Everybody else is adjusted by now. Let's not give him an excuse, okay? What does he need? 3 years to adjust? I could see 3 weeks. What do we want to give him? Months? Years? I just no. So he, you know, I'm a big fan of his. I think he was just a great reliever for the Cardinals, but he lost some stuff last year, and that's a concern. So I don't know what. Of course, the Cardinals will tell you, "Oh, we're confident. Yeah, he's been very, very good, and we're very fortunate to have him. He's got tremendous value." Well, all right. Suppose that 25% strikeout rate dips to 22%. Suppose that hard hit rate, which went up by 10 percentage points last year, suppose that all of a sudden that goes up by another 5. Suppose the home run rate goes up again. Suppose left-handed hitters do more damage against them. You know, Cardinals just won't. They if they have a guy under contract, and see that's the thing. Gallegos signed a 2-year deal before last season. When they have a guy under contract, they'll never acknowledge there's anything whatsoever to be concerned about, right?
Yes.
Well, so we true. Think, you know, Jack Flaherty's had a great off season. You know, our reports, I mean, he's throwing as hard as ever, and he feels great. You know, how many times have we heard that type of song played over and over and over again, right? Well, you know, Verhagen, he needed a year to get acclimated, and he had some injury issues, and he's feeling great. He's had a very healthy and productive offseason. No, he was just as bad, if not worse, than he was in his first year with the Cardinals, right?
It's true on that.
They fell in love with T.J. McFarland. They signed him to a deal. T.J. McFarland, that lefty they got in the 21 deadline, he was living on borrowed time because his stuff was really hittable, and it was just a matter before, you know, those swings, the high contact rate against him would start to work against him, and that's exactly what happened. I tried to tell everyone, but of course I'm negative, right? I tend to consider myself pragmatic and fact-based in my opinion, but you know. There's so many other examples to have our great listeners. They can contribute. Well, you know, waiting for Tyler O'Neill. He's on a new workout regimen. He's changed his diet. We're very excited. And that lasted what, until the 4th game of the season, where he, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, he wasn't running hard or as hard as they wanted, and it set off a firestorm, and he was on the IL 27 times again last year, something like that. Well, you know, we know that, you know, Dylan Carlson would be the first to tell you that he's capable of doing better, but we really believe he's a really talented guy, and we're confident this is the year he'll put it all together. You know, we really believe in him. Okay. He was worse than ever last year. Now, what else you got? Right?
Agreed 100%. I mean, heck, they were telling us Tyler O'Neill was going to be playing center field every day for,
right.
You know, it's like, my goodness. Another text here says, Bernie, are they going to screw up Libator, or are they going to leave him in the bullpen?
I hope they put him in the bullpen or leave him there. But because they're too cheap to spend money on a swingman type pitcher or a guy that is just strictly a starting pitcher, but, you could use in the bullpen, I guess I would make him a swingman. But because they won't actually purchase starting rotation depth, it means they're going to do a lot of, we think. We look at our down in Memphis and we see, they rattle off names. And, we think that and rattle off names.
Mm-hmm.
These are all guys that either came through the system who are, quote, prospects, or guys that they got in trades where they did the sell-off last year. And they want to sell them as like, well, we have plenty of depth behind our rotation. And they'll name all these guys. And listen, I think a couple of those guys have promising potential. I really do. I'm not going to be a phony, but I got to see it first. The point is, it's okay to have 2 or 3 of those guys in Memphis, and they're working their way to St. Louis, and they're doing really, really well, and they're showing a lot of pop and swing and miss stuff. But you can't put all of it on that type of thing. You have to have a couple of established options, people that have shown you they can do it at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about spending premium prices. We're talking about spending some money to have like maybe better insurance, if you will, right?
Oh, 100%, yes.
When you go to stlterm.com, you can make a request for an insurance quote and get a bunch of them right away, and depending on what you're looking for, some may cost more than others. But the Cardinals, when they go, their idea of insurance is a lot different than what you would get at stlterm.com, is what I'm trying to say. Their insurance options are extremely limited. It's like, well, who's not making any money, and who can we promote to the gullible media as a prospect that is we have to keep a spot or two open for these guys to be in St. Louis during the year. It's a very easy sales pitch. It's a lot of times it's been proven bogus, but it works, which is their goal, convince people of it. But the key is they won't spend for pitching depth. They have a glaring need for reinforcement of the bullpen, and I'm a reasonable person. I never said, yeah, you go get Robert Stevenson and you give him whatever it takes. No. First of all, I'm not insane, so therefore I recognize they will never do that anyway. But I'm reasonable. There were some guys out there worthy of paying. In a way, it's at a price where, an organization that is like really, really making sure they got enough down there in that bullpen, they would be comfortable to spend that kind of money. It just wouldn't be a big stress point, But no, so far, no. Well, we really like Drew Rom. You mean the guy with the 80 ERA last year or whatever? I don't know. It is frustrating. See, that's the thing. I hope people understand the context of where I'm coming from. I'm not one of the people that thinks a signing is manure unless you spend a ton of money on that particular signing. I don't roll that way. I'm like, okay, what does a guy bring? What's his track record say? What is his upside? What are some of the things under the surface that you can look at and say, hey, better than I thought? And if they sign a guy like that and they don't pay a fortune, they pay a reasonable price, as I've said on this show a lot, well, they actually should be commended for that. That's not something to criticize. So I'm not one of these people that just like Pavlov's dog, because they don't spend $100 million on a pitcher, I'm going to start slobbering all over the place out of rage, fake rage, like so many other people. I don't care what you spend as long as you get somebody that can really help you and someone that fits your needs, and someone that, if he represents good value, that's even better. See, I'm not one of the, well, I need to see this much money or else I'm not even going to look at that guy. Well, why would you have that attitude? Is that the way you run your own household? Well, why did you buy that appliance right here? Why'd you buy that appliance? You spent, $300 for it. And I saw the same one at another store for $550. Why didn't you get that one? You spent more there, so it must be better than the one you spent $300 on. The one that costs $550 must be better. No, dear. Actually, they're the exact same model. So I thought it would be best to spend $300 rather than $550. But the way some baseball fans think, that's wrong. No. And unless you spend $500 for that appliance for your home, I don't want to hear that you got it for $250. You're just being cheap. People are really that crazy. Seriously, they're really that crazy.
You mentioned Stevenson, and I mean, the money that the Angels gave him, you go, oh, geez. But then you realize,
good luck.
In that market, what happens from time to time is somebody who doesn't know what they're doing says, oh, we just have to spend some money somewhere. Let's just give it all to this guy. That's kind of what happened, because Stevens should be a quality arm. I don't know where he's going to fit in that mess out there, the Angels.
And then they signed Matt Moore. I mean, what? Okay, good luck. I hope you have some leads to protect. There are a lot of them for you. I don't know. No, Stevenson did some great things once he got to Tampa Bay last year. And they put him in their pitching lab and fixed him. But is that going to hold now that he's away from there? Because when you think of great pitching operations, track record of making guys better, I don't think the Angels would be up there on that list, right?
Absolutely not.
Now, if you want to look for ruining pitchers, they're pretty good at that, right?
Very good at that. The White Sox, you mentioned Brebbie's name. Here's another organization. We're just going to throw $6 million at him. Like, wow.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Isn't that ridiculous? Brebbie is okay. He's fine there, but $6 million? Again, another organization is like, we're shopping Cease, but we're going to bring in Brebbia for,
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the point. Well, I don't know unless there's something here that I can, I can look at real quick, and we've got to take a break. Not that it's urgent, but I just wanted to see Brebbia again, and he did. I will say this, okay? I don't know whether you can count on this. But last season for the Giants, and he had surgery and all these other things. He came back. He only pitched 21 innings in 2021. He came back in 2022 with 68, but he didn't have good stuff. But last year his stuff bounced back, and he struck out 11 batters per 9 innings. But given the rather sparse track record of doing that, I mean, and he's 33,
right?
And I don't know. I guess that's not ridiculous to take a $5.5 million flyer on him. He's a little better last year than I thought he was. I just got to try to be fair here, But again, what are we talking about? We're talking about a guy who's basically slightly above the replacement level, right, even with a pretty good strikeout rate, and with a track record that is not consistent. He was actually really good for the 2019 Cardinals. He really was. But, again, the Cardinals have a tendency to that's another, a lot of teams do it. The Cardinals own the only. They have a long and apparently cherished history of doing whatever they can to make relievers break physically. So, yes. Brebbie was one of those guys. And we had a great text with a great question. The Cardinal, if Helsley's not available to pitch as much as they need him, do they have enough strikeout power in the bullpen? And so I'm going to do some research and look it up, because I didn't want to ask, I wanted to kind of have something to back it up, just the facts type thing. But don't worry, because, for example, you have Andre Palante back for his third year, and, of course, a lot of a lot of talk and information and stories written in talk show segments hosted where like he made this change, he's working on this, and boy, he all of a sudden it really looks good. His off season project, boy, it made just so much progress and blah 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 blah. And you're one of those pitching laboratories, Driveline or whatever.
Yes,
I think you're going to look pretty good. And I think if you go to any of those places, I mean, they're gonna really give you a lot of positive reinforcement because number one, they should, and number two, they also want you to maybe come back for more. I don't know. Dude had a 14% strikeout rate last year. Okay, yeah, so you're gonna have to forgive me if I'm like, well, Cardinals may have themselves another Tom Henke here. Although I don't even know, based on the standards of the era, I don't know what Tom Henke struck out that year as Card. He was good, though.
He was really good.
He was real good. What are you laughing at?
A text that just came in. It says, the Cardinals can't afford me. Signed, Manure.
Is that dude from, is he from, Venezuela or something?
I think so.
Manoa or something like that? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, bad joke. Nick Robertson, who they got in the O'Neill deal, and listen, man, I do think that there's some real potential there. I ain't gonna lie. And his major league strikeout rate, and again, this is going to be when he's used in a certain role, and when he's 24 years old last year, and he was showing signs of improvement. My point is, I think it's legitimate to say, if healthy, he's going to be on the come, so to speak. But he's got about a 25% major league strikeout rate, and that's just a work in progress guy with a big arm. So I think that there is legitimate potential there, but yeah, it is only potential. Then this Rule 5 guy who, again, boy, if I know, Ryan Fernandez, he's a lefty. And, you look at his strikeouts per nine, like last year at AAA, it was 10.3. That's good. In AA, it was 11.5, and at High A, it was 12. So he has shown some strikeout capability, but he hasn't done it in the major leagues. And, he's far from a sure thing, but is there a little something there? Maybe. And Chaim Bloom was familiar with him, and that's a check mark next to his name because I think he understands guys that are capable of doing better with the right kind of work. Who else we got? Zach Thompson. Well, Romero, for example, yep. Romero did turn into a strikeout guy. Pretty good. He was just about 29% last year. So he was moving in the right direction. But again, I want to see more of a track record. But does he have strikeout stuff? Yeah, he does. Can he sustain it? Well, that's to be determined. This is what I'm talking about in terms of an established track record. Zach Thompson, I don't know what their plans are for him. I'm thinking they're going to have him preparing to be a starter. Or do they put him in the bullpen? I don't know that they want to put him in the bullpen. I think Libator is the one to put in the bullpen there, the choice of the two young lefties.
Mm-hmm.
But last year, after doing some work, and I do think I'm convinced Dusty Blake did really help him. His strikeout rate as a rookie was 20%. It went to 25% last year. So that's nice improvement is what I'm trying to say, because he's still a very inexperienced major league pitcher. This guy they got from Texas, John King, no. He's a ground ball guy. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to have one of them in there. So I didn't even bother to look his strikeout stuff up because I've done it before. But let me read you something. Let me just read you some numbers because, sometimes that's all I can do. So when they got Gallegos from the Yankees as part of the Luke Voit trade, which actually turned out pretty well for the Cardinals. Not at first, but pretty well. So here I go again, patting myself on the back, right? But when they got him, I was looking at Chase and Shreve, who was the piece they wanted more than anything. They wanted that lefty Chase and Shreve, and I'm like, well, I'm looking at what he's done, and I don't see it. I don't know what. Okay. And I said, let me. I want to find out as much as I can about this Gallegos dude. And by then, he had only made a couple of brief appearances in the major leagues. Like in 2017, he pitched 217. He pitched like 20 innings for the Yankees. And I remember looking at it like, well, they hit the ball hard. He was 25 years old, and left-handed hitters hit him. And well, those things are not unusual. It's his first time in the big leagues. But I did notice that in those 20 innings, he had a 25% strikeout rate. And I noticed in 2018, when, before they traded him to the Cardinals, it was like a 26% strikeout rate. And then I remember the Cardinals put him down in Memphis and kept him there. And I kept looking at his stuff. And he's striking out guys. He was just as effective against left-handed hitters as right-handed hitters. I'd read the manager of the Cardinals at first. It would have been Schulte by then. Read these quotes. It's like, well, what we could really use is somebody to help us get left-handed hitters out. It'd be nice to have that guy. I know our people are looking, and blah 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 blah. Well, I'm like, well, you have one of those guys. Why are you wasting him in Memphis? Every number on him tells you get strikeouts, and you'll have a right-handed pitcher who gives you that extra dimension of being able to handle them really well, left-handed batters. So the Cardinals, you know how much they use Gallegos at the major league level in an inning and a half? Inning and a half in 2018. No, inning and a third. I'm sorry, inning and a third. And, you wouldn't want to give him more than that, of course, because in that inning in a third, he struck out 2 hitters. So it means he struck out like 40% of the guys he faced. And granted, he didn't face too many. So somebody figured out, well, maybe we ought to use him in 2019. Better late than never.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the part. 2019 strikeout rate 33.3%. 2020 shortened season and all that, but 37% strikeout rate. 2021 31% strikeout rate. 2022 31% strikeout rate. So he bounced back a little bit. And then last year it fell to around about 25.6%. But his hard hit rate went way up by just about 10 points. And he wasn't as good as far as keeping the ball in the ballpark and things like that. But Gallegos was really, really, really outstanding, and he was an underutilized talent after they got him from the Yankees, and they failed to know or realize that he was actually the better pitcher of the two that they got. And it wasn't. There was nothing there that would even make it a debate, including the fact that the left-handed pitcher couldn't get left-handed hitters out.
It was a problem.
The right-handed prospect got left-handed hitters out. But they're hoping he comes back to what he was, and I'm telling you, in his recent history, he was a big-time strikeout guy. I'm just concerned about what the direction he turned in, last season. And I know that Schilt, in particular, really overused him. Schilt burned out 3 guys in 2021. Alex Reyes and Gallegos and Cabrera. He found, I don't know. I thought the Cardinals took that out of the grounds crew shed and got rid of it, but somehow Schilt found that old Matheny wood chipper.
He did.
Those guys had a huge fall off late in the season, which of course prompted Schilt. So I'm gonna give them Dodgers Alex Reyes. Ain't gonna be able to handle that stuff. Boom. Season over. Right?
Oh, yes. What a memory. Yes. Oh, painful.
Right?
Even as it's happening, you're yelling, no, what are you doing?
So I'm trying to give us listen now, Kettridge last year, the guy they got from Tampa Bay. Listen, you got to understand he's coming back from Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
And he his strikeout rate, his first time, he's back from Tommy John. It's never an automatic thing. It takes a little while. So his strikeout rate wasn't very good when he first came up. But he started 3 weeks of the season. He started to strike out guys a lot. And then before he had the elbow injury, and he's fully recovered now, he had a strikeout rate about 27, 28%. So he's a strikeout guy,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to give examples of, I was asked to provide just a look at strikeout potential, and I'm sure that, I'm probably leaving some people out. I think Graceffo could be repurposed and pitch in the major leagues because he's got good swing and miss stuff. I think his hard stuff's pretty lively. And then Tink Hence, but let's not even talk about him. He's not even at Double-A yet. I think he got slapped around pretty good at his first experience in Double-A, which does not mean I'm down on him or any of that stuff. Tekoa Roby, the prospect that they got from Texas, I think he's got exciting talent. And if our question here is strikeout stuff. Now, granted, this is all in the minor leagues, but they got to start out in the minor leagues. He had a strikeout rate 1 year of 14%, and it was 11%, and it was 11%. And he once he got to Springfield pitching for the Cardinals Double-A team, it was only 12 innings, but he had a strikeout rate of 14 per 9 innings. And then in the Arizona Fall League, he struck out an average of 12 per 9 innings. So he's got stuff. He does. He's got stuff. That's not me hyping it because I don't do that. I say, okay, I'm gonna go see. Let me look at every data point I can find. I ain't gonna take it just because Gerst tells somebody off the record or whatever. Well, this guy's unbelievable. All right, let me check it out. Okay, fine. Thanks. Let me check it out now. And I'm annoying that way. I drive the Cardinals crazy because I'm not looking to repudiate stuff they tell the media, right? I'm just saying I have a curious mind, and I want to find out exactly, does this shake out? Is this accurate? Are they kind of, they're excited, so they're maybe, hamming it up and exaggerating a little bit? Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that annoying guy. I admit it. So
it's all good. I'm sorry. I was just going through our names. I'm trying to see if we missed. We didn't miss anybody. I mean, that's
I don't know, man. Yeah, because they cleared out all that deadwood, right?
Zaniga's still on the roster or in the minors, but he's right. It's like nothing there to excite you.
No, there's not much anyway. And I'm looking in. Let me just do this real quick, and I apologize, and then I'll take a break. Tinkenska will be. He has a strikeout arm, but again, he's still, he's still in Double-A and wasn't very good first time out. They have other guys. McGreevy's a controlled pitcher, command pitcher. I'm not saying he can't pitch in the majors, but he's not going to be a high leverage guy in your bullpen. Roby has real potential. There's some other guys that have potential, but I don't want to just talk about guys, but like way below level and stuff. And with that one guy that they got from Toronto, Kloffenstein, he's got some pop.